Always love to get our friends over from Pro Football Focus on the show, PHNX Cardinals. Make sure you're subscribed to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Drop a like. We got our guy Dalton Wasserman joining us. Dalton, how we doing, my man?
Fantastic. Another good week of football coming on the college and NFL side. It's fun every week now.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Cardinals fans drawn back into keeping an eye on the college football gridiron. I thought we were past that. We were on Marv Watch at this time last year. It came to fruition, and we're watching MHJ play on Sundays. But now we have to turn back to Saturdays a little bit, watch a little closer. As this team's at 1-3. Dalton, what's your kind of overall assessment of the Cardinals going into Week 5 against the Niners?
I think the one big thing with them is they're still pretty one-sided, right? And we know they have an explosive offense and a really good run game. You got James Conner and Trey Benson in the backfield. Kyler Murray can run himself, and he can create explosive plays. But I think the big problem outside of they played well in the Detroit game, but really you're still kind of short on talent on defense here. And it's really the big problem when you talk about not just giving up points, but losing time of possession and Murray in the running game and the weapons not having enough opportunities to kind of create possession. We saw it in this Washington game where they were just dominated on the ground, through the air, time of possession, things like that. So I think this defense, first and foremost for me, if they're going to find ways to improve, they've got to get stops and they've got to get Murray the ball more often.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we talk about that offense. You know, it looked like it was going to be a strength, budding playmakers. The addition of MHJ, Michael Wilson's a nice player in his second year. Trey McBride emerged. He'll return from a concussion. But, 13, 14 points respectively, it's not going to get it done. Just from your sense, where do you think that this offense is maybe struggling to get on the same page early on?
It looks to me like in these last two games, especially where there's times where they're trying to force deep shots downfield when they don't need to. Look, and it's something I see from several teams in the NFL right now, especially ones with not as great records, is that they're trying too hard to push the ball downfield as opposed to just working the chains and manufacture offense. And I think the Cardinals, they have the ability to do that. They can really run the ball. You've got good route runners on the outside. You've got guys like MHJ and even a Greg Dortch on the outside who can create after the catch, right? And I think they've just gotten away from that a little bit. I think you saw a little bit more diversity in their offense in the first two games when it came to, okay, let's create first downs and let's take shots when they're actually available to us instead of forcing balls into double coverage and things like that down the field. So creating explosives as opposed to forcing them. And they're able to do that. There's some other teams in the league who they almost have to do that because they can't run the ball or what have you. The Cardinals have all the ability to do anything they want on offense. They just have to manufacture a little bit more, not force things.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Do you have a Cardinals offensive PFF darling that you hold close, near and dear to your heart?
Honestly, it's Kyler Murray. I mean, he's the center of it all. Him and Paris Johnson. I'll say that too for Paris Johnson. He's from the second half of last year to the beginning of this year. He's been spectacular. He's actually their highest graded offensive player. And we've seen it with the Cardinals now. They're at offensive tackle, especially with Johnson. He's emerging as one of the better tackles in the league. The last 2 weeks, some of the issues they've had in pass protection have come from the interior. But Johnson is a guy I've been watching since the second half of last year, has improved a lot. And that's a big part of even this offense's improvement. And Murray maybe being able to stay healthy for the whole 17 games here. Paris Johnson's really coming on now.
Dalton, of course, you keep a close eye on the college ranks. We have only seen 10 snaps preseason of Darius Robinson, drafted 27th overall out of Missouri. They're going to wait to open up his practice window. But, I mean, help needs to be on the way. And if it is soon, what do you think that D-Rob could add to this defense immediately once he's activated from the IR?
He's a big, strong presence who I think could help them in the more immediate future in run defense. We know the Cardinals since last year have had issues in run defense. It's obviously still a problem this year outside of the Rams game. Robinson, that's really where his strength is, right? And he's a good power pass rusher as well. But I think where he immediately helps you is getting head up on these tackles, getting in these big fronts that Jonathan Gannon wants to get in. And he's really good at extending and just shedding blocks and clogging up run gaps, to be honest with you. So I think if that's a spot, that's why they drafted him to me. I think they know they need run defense, and that's his biggest strength. He would help there immediately.
Yeah, 400 yards on the ground the last 2 weeks. They've got that stout Niners rushing attack with Jordan Mason now on tap here in Week 5. It's a little daunting around the desert. But look, you guys looking down the road a little bit. As I mentioned, a little draft. I like Max Chadwick in your mock draft. I don't like the Cardinals picking 9th, but that's looking like it could be a reality. Deion Walker out of Kentucky, somebody that's been on our radar for a while, just a massive human being. I mean, just tell me about, how he would look in that defensive front rotation.
Well, he's a freakish athlete, and I'll tell you something. If you want a guy to take a home run ceiling pick on, this is the guy. 6'6". I believe he told Max a couple months ago he's down in the 330s now, played up in the 350s. But he says even at his size, he may go to the combine and run a 4.6. This is a freakish athlete on the inside, and there are moments in rushing the passer. Got to work on the technique a little bit. He's a little bit high cut, but there are moments rushing the passer where he reminds me of Chris Jones. He's got length, he's got quickness, he's got hands, he's got moves. When he's on, he is absolutely one of the best, probably one of the two best pass rushing defensive tackles in this draft coming up. So you talk about you could have potentially a premier run defender in Darius Robinson and a premier pass rusher in Deion Walker. That would be some compliment and really something to get the foundation starting on Arizona's defense.
No doubt about it. It would expedite this defensive rebuild or certainly help it. Co-host, of course, the PFF College Football Show. You're doing is it the PFF NFL Rewind with our guy Trevor Sikkema as well on Sundays?
Mondays at 1 o'clock Eastern, grade release / review show where we go over everything from Thursday to Sunday, every single game. We do a comprehensive breakdown on it, give key stats and most impressive guys for us and full breakdowns on every game. So tune in Mondays at 1 Eastern for that.
Can't wait. Make sure you're following on Twitter as well at PFF_Dalton. Dalton, enjoy it. Enjoy the baseball as well. I know big Mets guy, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's been a stressful week to say the least. Absolutely, we'll be tuned into that as well as all the football for sure.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk to you down the road.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
We all silly like the mayor.